So I don't get scared that easily when I'm reading a book, but one of the books I read recently, Jesus Christ, it unsettled me. What's up guys, welcome back to the channel. Today I'm going to do something a little bit different. I have been up to this point doing a weekly update video every Sunday, but I found just looking at the views and just taking a closer look at it, it's not quite working. I want things to be a little bit more spontaneous, and I find that every time I get to Sunday and I do a weekly update video, I find that the book I'm currently reading at the time, I'm scrambling to finish it in time to talk about it on a Sunday. So what I'm going to do is introduce a new mini segment called a quick reading update. It's going to be fairly informal, it's going to be fairly quick. It means that if I finish a book on, say, a Wednesday or a Thursday, I can put the video up whenever I feel like it and whenever it's appropriate, so that it has a more spontaneous feel with the content being released up on the channel. So that being said, let's talk about what I've been reading recently. And the first book I wanted to briefly cover is Something Wicked This Way Comes by Raymond Bradbury. Now, this book is one of the classics that I've selected for this year to read as I step outside my comfort zone. I've chosen 10 classics this year, and I'm officially halfway through that list with Something Wicked This Way Comes, which I really enjoyed. And the 5 remaining titles are Lord of the Flies, The Odyssey, The Art of War, To Kill a Mockingbird, and The Count of Monte Cristo, which I'm saving that for as long as I can. I'm a little bit intimidated by its length, but as I've said in previous videos, if I read The Count of Monte Cristo and finish it, it'll become the longest book I've ever undertaken. But I am a little bit apprehensive about the length of it, but I'm sure once I get into the story it should be phenomenal, as I've heard nothing but good things about the book. So anyway, back to Something Wicked This Way Comes. I hadn't read that since I was about 11 or 12 years old. I had forgotten how good it actually is. Now, reading it for the second time, I had forgotten a lot of what happened in the book, but a couple of standout moments in the book. The characters were very richly drawn. It's about the carnival that comes to town in October, and 2 boys, Jim Nightshade and Will Halloway, get drawn into the carnival, and Mr. Dark leads his band of freaks, including a small dwarf and an evil dwarf and an old witch, which frightened the shit out of me, I don't mind saying. It was just a spooky book and very dark, and what happens to some of the characters is actually frightening. For those unfortunate enough to take a ride on the Calliope or merry-go-round, the merry-go-round has the power to de-age or age people, and that is frightening. Imagine going on a merry-go-round anti-clockwise and turning back the clock on yourself, turning you back into, say, a 6-year-old kid with your adult memories. Couldn't think of anything worse. I especially liked how Will's dad, Charles Halloway, I think his name was, stood up and became the man he had always aspired to in standing up to Mr. Dark and defeating him and sending him on his way. I thought that was really good. I found the writing overall was really good, but if I was to pick it for anything, I would say that Raymond Bradbury at times was a little bit self-indulgent. Some passages used a little bit too much description, in my opinion. The prose was very lyrical. It was a little bit hard to understand at times, which detracted from the story a little bit. It was a bit of a distraction, but overall, a fantastic book. I'm glad I picked it up, and it is certainly a worthy check off of my classics bucket list, and I'm looking forward to reading those other ones I just mentioned. So there we go. The other book I picked up and finished was a real classic from 1997 by Dean Koontz, and that one was Intensity. Now, before I decided to read it, given that I don't have a TBR as such, and I've done away with that, and I like the freedom I've got where I can finish one book and just pick something completely at random or whatever I feel like reading at the time. And it's not unusual these days for me to finish a book and stand in front of my bookshelves behind me and browse the shelves for a bit. and pick up what strikes my fancy at the time. And when I picked this one up, I was pretty excited because I hadn't read it since 1997. I remember it being good. On the reread I just did, I thought it was absolutely brilliant. It's about a female protagonist called China Shepherd, who was a graduate psychology student, and she had been invited to her friend Laura's family's estate in Oregon, I think it's set, for a Thanksgiving dinner. And once the night's over and she's retired in her guest room, she hears noises and hears a scream, and she goes to investigate, and she finds that the family home has been invaded by a serial killer called Edgler Vest, who has systematically slaughtered the family, but he's kept Lauren, China's best friend, alive, and he takes Lauren with him in his motorhome. Now, through all this, when China discovers the serial killer in the house, he is not aware of her presence, and she has spent all her life being a ghost and being invisible, which stems from her troubled childhood. So Vest takes off in his motorhome, and unbeknownst to him, China has snuck on board and is hiding in the back bedroom where he's keeping Lauren. And it's China's main goal to get Lauren away from him. But before too long, Vest pulls into a convenience store to fill up the gas tank. China manages to sneak off the motorhome and sneak into the convenience store, but when Vest enters the convenience store and toys with the clerks before killing them with his shotgun, Vest continues on his way, and before he goes, he locks up the convenience store and puts the open sign around to closed, and essentially China is locked in the store. So she has to get out. The motorhome takes off, and her immediate goal is to pursue him, and she leaves by a back door and steals one of the clerk's cars that still has the keys in it, and so she pursues him to his property, and this is where it really starts to pick up, because Vest does become aware of her presence, and he captures her and chains her with handcuffs and chains to a solid oak table, and he says, stay put, and he goes to work, and he tells her he'll be back by midnight. So it gives China about 6 or 7 hours to formulate some sort of escape. Now, in the convenience store, she actually overheard Vest talking about a captured girl he's keeping in his basement. So now China has an additional goal, and puts herself in the position that she must rescue Ariel, which is the name of the girl who he's keeping in the cellar. And so that's why she's pursued him in the first place. So Vest has gone to work, and immediately China's thinking how she can escape, and this is where it really ramps up, and there's real suspense and edge of your seat stuff as China tries to figure out how to escape, and at the same time to get Ariel out as well, and rescue her from this evil bloke. Now, the added complication, of course, is Vest keeps 4 Dobermans on his property, and he's trained them well with a single command after he leaves for work. The dogs are on high alert, and they are tasked with bringing down anyone who exits the house, and it's a kill order, basically. So 4 Dobermans is a pretty daunting prospect, but as time goes on, eventually China does prevail, and the way she goes about her escape is just ingenious. What she goes through, the pain, the ingenuity of formulating her escape is just unreal. And anyway, it leads to a final climax where the ending is quite satisfying. Vest gets a very fitting punishment, which I won't spoil that, but the whole way through it's just intense, as the book says. So it was a really, really good book. What am I reading at the moment? Again, as soon as I read Intensity, I thought, well, what would I like to read? And after a fair bit of browsing, I decided to read the Book of Cold Cases, which I'm about a third of the way through at the moment, and I'm really enjoying it, and should finish that up before the end of the month. So there we go. That is it for my quick reading update. Thank you very much for watching, and please don't forget to like and subscribe and put comments below, and I'll always respond to those. And as to what's coming up on the channel, the month is drawing to a close, so I will have my June wrap up, and of course my book of the month, and I'll be sharing some very, very exciting reading plans with you for July. Now, July, I don't have a TBR, but I've got a fair idea of what I would like to read, just not putting a stack of books there and committing to it and finding myself not in the mood to read them. But these books that I'm planning on reading next month, I'm going to share with you. I'm really, really excited, so watch out for that one. But thanks again, guys, and until next time, see you later.